Hello guys, welcome back. It's Photo Beast here. Today I wanted to use the new Photoshop tool, and in the process I wanted to include you to show you how great it is for restorations. Now if we just jump on over to the monitor here, I will show you exactly what I'm talking about. So one of the coolest things is on the screen recorder here is if I show you right here, let's go into edited pictures. I've got two edited folders. So my wife grew up with a girl in Charlotte, and this is a picture from the wedding, okay, of her actual daughter. I saw the picture online, and if you can see, it's a little pixelated, and also I don't like the hideous greens in the background. I like greens in nature and things like that, but when you're doing portraits, I find the yellows get a little tingy. So what I wanted to do was do a nice surprise and restore this picture right here. Now this picture right here, it is pixelated because it has been compressed to be put on Facebook or social media. They will always compress your images. Now I downloaded that, but I can always put pixels back. So what I did on top of adding pixels was I fixed the colorization, and then at the bottom you can see where the dress has been cut off. And these are beautiful dresses, so we don't want to cut the dresses off. So what I wanted to do was make it fuller, and that's where Photoshop came into play. This was the final image that we got. And all I did was back off some of the yellows. I used my curve adjustment to go to the shadow side all the way up against the wall, and I pulled it up just a little bit to give it that kind of matte contrasty, or pull some of the contrast out, but give it that kind of that matte finish to make it look more like a dreamy memory. And just by doing that and then pulling the oranges back a little bit, it made their skin look not so tingy and a little more natural. Especially with women, you want to go for a softer, more natural look. And I really think this came out great. Now, if you look at the bottom where the dresses are, I think it looks amazing. So this is why we do restorations right here, to take something like this that is just snapshotty and turn it into something like this, which is a beautiful portrait. And with the new generative tool inside of Photoshop, it really helps with the process and it helps with the time. So with that said, I've got an image here that I've wanted to share with you to see how this image will come along. Now this is a girl at my work called Yenny. Yenny works in the kitchen, and this is her father. He's passed away. And on this horse, she wants this picture pretty much long enough where I can make a 13:19 portrait. The problem is it's in a 1:1 ratio, so there's no way to actually stretch it out without cropping him out. And when I say cropping him out, I mean we're either gonna have to cut off the bottom of the picture or the top of the picture and then add pixels. So with that said, let's take Yenny's dad's picture, and the first thing I want to do is just take it and let's add some pixels themselves. So I'm going to take it and put it in Topaz Photo AI. If you don't have Topaz Photo AI, you can get a free subscription. Go over there and check it out. This is an amazing software. So now this decided it was going to add some pixels. It did a little bit of facial recovery and added some resolution. Now selecting the man's face, we have that. Now his face was so destroyed in this picture. The only way for me to make this picture better was to take his face off another picture and put it on here, but we're going to save that for another video. What I want to show today is how good will the generative AI tool work for something like this. We saw what it did with the dresses. That was amazing. I also had another picture where I was standing in a cage and there was a pole down my face, and I hit generative AI, and Sharon and I started cracking up because it gave me this real big eyeball, and we were just laughing. So I tried to record it for you, and of course the second time around it didn't do it. It actually did a really good job, and it wasn't funny, and because it wasn't funny, I didn't want to post it because I wanted you guys to have a good laugh. So let's just go ahead and save this specific image. We are going to save it on the desktop. We're going to reopen this at this time, the enhanced version in Photoshop. And this tool, if you don't have the beta, there's 1,000 ways to download beta. You need the subscription, go in and get beta downloaded. Now once you open it in beta, here we go. This is where the fun happens. So I'm actually going to unlock this, maybe make a copy of it, and I'm just going to pull this out a little bit this way, pull this out a little bit this way. And really what I want to do is give it a 13:19 ratio. Actually, all I had to do was click this one. So now we're in 13:19 or 19:13 ratio. So what I need to do is make this picture bigger. So I'm going to take the selection tool, select this whole area right here, and see what I get, and hit generative fill and generate. And I want to see, will it actually not only build the horse's face, but give me a little more picture to play with. Now, if it does a good enough job, I can build it up. That right there, my friends, is amazing, because I told her I don't know if I'd ever be able to fix this picture. Now, let's do another one here. And this was one of those images where I put it on the back burner because I was so worried. Elliptical tool. This is the other biggest part. I was worried about his feet. Let me do this again. I'm gonna go here. Let's do his feet. Little by little. We're gonna hit generate again. Just the horse's face. This is something I can work with now. Now, like I said, his face is going to have to be taken off another face. Software has only gotten so far. They also give you different options. So I had 3 different options to choose from. Now over here, there's this one, and then there's this one. But what it did was it allows me to make the picture bigger so that I can do a full-size print. I really like how the hoofs came out in the second one here. So I'm liking what's going on here, but it's giving me more picture to crop. Now let's do it again on this side of the picture. Once again, generative fill. And this is why this is such a game changer, because you can take pictures that you could never do anything with before. She's got a 1:1 picture of her dad with literally no pixels. And we are bringing it back from the dead. Once I colorize this, it's going to be freaking amazing. I think this looks great right here. We have the horse's tail back. You see right here. And that is the original horse's tail. There's nothing more I can do for that. And then last but not least, let me go up here and do the whole top right here. Let's do generative fill again. Just yesterday doing that dress, it just meant a lot to not only the people that got to have the picture renewed, but also to me to be able to, you know, from my heart, make a picture that looks great. So now we have a full-size 13:19 picture. So I can actually cut this, crop it, colorize it to the point that I want to make it the 19:13 or 13:19, so I can do the large print that she's always dreamed of her father. Let's actually look at how to redo the wedding image. So this was the original image that was given right here. So I want to take this image, and the first thing I'm going to personally do with this image is I'm going to add some pixels to it. So I'm going to run this image over to Topaz. Topaz is going to nicely add some of the stuff that I want to do. Okay, you need to add that one's cued. There we go. So what I want to do for this image is you can see Topaz right away. Preview updated, look at that. So we added some pixels and it recovered the faces and enhanced the resolution, thus giving us a better image for the client or customer or for yourselves and family. So we're going to save. I'm going to get rid of the dad's image there. We're going to close his image. We're going to save this particular image. With the pixels added, we're going to save it. Now we're going to reopen this image, close this out, and as we reopen it, here is the facial one. Let's look at what our final outcome is. So we're looking a little better. The problem is I want the dresses to be extended. I want to show off the dresses. So let's take this picture here, and I want to take some of the orange out of the skin tones and maybe back off some of the yellows and the green in the background, just to kind of soften the image. Best way to do it is, like I said, using Photoshop with the generative AI tool. So now taking this tool in Photoshop, we're going to clear that out. I don't want any particular ratios. We're going to use original ratio. So go to your crop tool and then pull down and get it as long as you think you need it, okay? Now that you have this empty space, what we're going to do is I'm going to use the rectangular tool, and let's see what our options. Generate a fill, generate. And as this is generating, it's going to come up with 3 options. The 3 options that come up, usually at least one of them is very usable. And the first one I'm not a fan of. It looks like a little bit crumpled. The second one looks pretty beautiful. The third one is okay. So out of all 3, I would say the second one is probably the best. One of the things I found out too was when you're actually doing your generative search, for instance, when I did the original let me pull down and do my generative AI, and I just hit generative AI, the dresses weren't coming out as good. So the software kind of has to guess sometimes what you particularly want. Now, from what I've found so far, people's faces, hands, faces, things like that, people and animals don't come out very well. I've tried to do eagles, hawks, tigers, snakes came out kind of, they looked all right. I'm not a big fan of snakes, but I just wanted to see what it looked like wrapped around this bush. But if you type in this particular case, wedding dresses, you can see that the dresses come out a lot better. And not only did the dresses come out better, but there's also little patterns and stitching on the dresses that didn't come out with the initial just generate AI. So if I type in wedding gowns or wedding dresses, you get a better search sometimes. So try that as a tip, see if it works. So now I'm going to take this image and I'm going to start editing it. So the next thing I want to do is flatten everything and start adding color. So let me go to layer, flatten image, okay? I'm going to actually grab a crop ratio. I want it to be 13 by 19 so I can make a print. And this is about the size of the print that I'm going to be able to print out, okay, right here. So I'm going to check that. That is where I want it. Then I'm going to take this actual image, go to filter, we're going to go to camera raw, and we're going to open it up right here in camera raw. In camera raw, you got different profiles that you can go through. You can hit auto if you want. Auto will do pretty much everything you need, but what I'm going to do is pull some of the orange out or yellows by sliding the slider towards the blues and just kind of feel my way around. I want to cut the exposure down a little bit, but I also want to pull back the contrast, which also pulls back the blacks. It makes the image a little brighter. Highlights are pretty fun where they are. Shadows, you don't want to pull shadows all the way out of an image because then it looks like HDR fakeness. Not with portraits. With portraits, you want to keep your shadows because the shadows add mystique. One of the things that a new editor will do is pull the highlights all the way down and the shadows all the way up, thus making or getting the most out of your camera's, what's the word I'm looking for? You're getting the most out of your dynamic range. You bought this really nice camera, you've got this crazy dynamic range that you've never had before, so you want to take advantage of it. It's like shooting everything in f2.8 when you get your first f2.8 lens. You want everything to have bokeh, and the problem is you can't. You can't always realistically do it. You have to think what's best for the image and the outcome. So that gets a little hard. It's also one of the things that is the hardest to realize is you need to learn control when you start editing. The other thing is saturation. Don't do the saturation. Everybody's like, oh my God, look at all the color. Let's turn that up, you know? This just don't work. And the other thing is pull your saturation down sometimes and then add a little bit of vibrance. The vibrance will bring natural colors back without messing their skin tones up, as you can see right here. So down with the saturation, up with the vibrance. Vibrance is a lot better for skin tones, thus keeping the image still soft. Now, I want to keep the contrast in there, but I also want to back off on the clarity a little bit because I don't want to show too much detail. These are soft women. Soft women don't need a lot of texture and clarity. Plus, the image was sharpened when we put it in the Topaz Photo AI. The two tools that you will need the most is Topaz Photo AI and Photoshop. Lightroom as well. Lightroom is where you catalog and do your basic edits. But Photoshop and Topaz Photo AI is the magic. Those two are the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Get those subscriptions, get those softwares. I don't care how you do it. If you're going to be a serious editor, you need those two softwares. Now we're getting somewhere. The next thing I want to do is on my curve. I don't want to do the curve yet. That's powerful. I want to go down to color mixer and do some color grading here. I want to pull the yellows out. See the yellows in the background? Slightly pull those down. My greens, it is a green background, so I'm just going to soften the greens because I don't want the background overwhelming the subjects. You can also go to green in your hue and find a more pleasing green tone that kind of matches the picture. And then kind of turn that down a little bit. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a light vignette right around the two there. And you can do a natural vignette, you can do a white vignette, but don't make it so obvious. Feather your vignettes, just feather them, and it just basically draws your eye to the focal point. The next thing you're going to want to do for your last little bit of color grading is go to your curve, and you might want to push it up just a tad to make it bright and airy. Go over here to your highlights. If you're intimidated by the curve, don't be. Just remember your curve is very powerful. Less is more. As you have this curve, slightly go up or slightly go down. To the left of the curve is your shadows, in the middle is midtones, all the way to the right is your highlights. It's that simple. If you watch the highlights in the picture, see? And every picture is different. There we go. See how beautiful that is? Nice and bright and airy. And then the last thing we're going to do is put a matte finish on it. See? If I go all the way up, it matte finishes. And it just softens ever so slightly. Ever so slightly softens the blacks. There we go. And we go from that to that. There's our final image. So if you look over here, this is what we posted online yesterday. We have a nice full dress. We have a little bit of grass right here, flowing dresses, the greens are taken out, and we have what looks like a memory. So if I was to take this and look back at the original, you can see the difference between the two. You got your before and your after. And just between you and me, no offense to the original photographer or editor. The photographer might have taken the picture and not edited it. I don't know the backstory, but all I do know is I wanted to give them something that looks like a memory and a moment in time, a timeless creation. So, thank you guys for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. This is Photo Beast, and I will see you guys in the next videos. Please stay tuned as well for the future videos coming up with Myrtle Beach Bike Week and Huntington Beach State Park. They had eagles here. It was amazing. South Carolina.